Afternoon. I'm Sean Oliver, Senior Sales Associate here at Lightspeed. Today I'm excited to introduce Brad and Dan from Trade Ideas. They will be giving an introduction to Trade Ideas and going over other important functions that the system offers. Please keep in mind that today's presentation is for informational purposes only. Nothing presented today should be construed as investment advice or a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific securities. Since we don't know everyone's investment objectives or risk tolerance, we are not endorsing any specific trading strategies. We also encourage you to ask questions as we go through the presentation, and you can do that by typing them into the webinar chat box as we go along. I will try to answer them at the end of the presentation. This presentation will be recorded and uploaded to our online webinar library. You'll be able to see this as well as most of our past webinars online at lightspeed.com/webinar. So if at any point during the presentation you missed something or want to go back and reference it at a future date, you can always go to our website where it will be archived. If you have any specific questions about what you're seeing, please feel contact me at sales@lightspeed.com or visiting our website, lightspeed.com, where you can request a demo of the platform at any time. Now I'm going to hand it over to Dan for a brief introduction of Trade Ideas.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules. Obviously, the market's over, and everyone's been trading. You are now viewing our screen, and or you're about to start viewing our screen. And what I wanted to share was there's going to be quite a bit of information, and my partner Brad Williams is going to introduce you to our technology Trade Ideas, which is designed to help you find the most interesting opportunities in the market in real time. We do it in a number of different ways. Brad's going to cover all of that. And in the screen, we're also going to give you a brief visual introduction to our overall partnership with Lightspeed, which has Brokerage Plus in it, which is our trading platform that sits on top of the Lightspeed API. So the whole thing works together. You can find the information. You can trade it through either Lightspeed or Brokerage Plus. You can confirm it with the charts and hopefully have the best trading experience to capture the most alpha. I'm going to hand over the floor to Brad Williams. He's our managing partner and our chief operations officer, and he's going to give you an introduction of how all this works and how you can get set up with Trade Ideas on Lightspeed. Brad, take it away.
Thank you very much, Dan. Again, thank you very much for taking your time. I know it's oftentimes hard to find the time to attend a webinar, so hopefully I can not only show you what Trade Ideas can do for you, but also show you how to configure this tool to get the most out of it. This is the default layout that comes with Lightspeed, so I'm going to spend just a little bit of time explaining the different window types that we're looking at, and then I'll dive into each of these window types and show you how to configure it. Again, we don't have that much time, so I'm going to really show you some basic configuration techniques and show you how to manipulate the data in these windows. So I'm going to spend most of the time in this particular webinar on our alert, our top list, and our MultiStrategy windows. Those are the three main component windows of Trade Ideas. I'm going to also touch a little bit upon our compare count window, the odds maker, which is our event-based backtesting tool, and I'm going to spend just a brief amount of time on our Brokerage Plus window, which is visible in the upper right-hand corner, and this is where you can automate your strategies as well as manage your portfolio with our tool. So to start off, I want to show you, really talk about the top list window, because that window is most prevalent in this default layout. And the top list windows, you know, they really look like list windows or a market view. We call them a top list, but they're really a smart list window. The U.S. Patent Office knows this technology as a multivariate color-assisted sort, because it's not just a list of stocks. And let me kind of explain how it works. In this upper left-hand corner window, we're looking at a list of stocks that are the biggest gainers for today. And essentially what this top list window is doing is it's giving you a real-time snapshot based upon your filtered criteria and some sorting criteria that you input in. This window right here is looking for biggest percentage gainers for the day. Now we call it a multivariate color-assisted sort window because you have the ability to add a third layer of dimension on here with color. Now we're bringing in the top 100 percentage gainers for the day here, but we're coloring this on the change from the close in dollar amount. So very quickly your eyes can be brought to other information other than what's in the list in chronological order. So for instance, the dark color here indicates that this stock EPL is up an extraordinary amount, not only on a percentage basis, but also on a dollar value basis. This also gives me a good opportunity to explain the view of what we're looking at before I dive into the configuration aspect of it. Everything in Trade Ideas can be molded. It's like a piece of clay. You can really shape it the way that you want to shape it, not only from a configuration perspective, but also from a display perspective. The columns that you're choosing to view, whether it's graphical in nature. So very quickly, not only do we provide regular market data, your price and volume data points that everybody's familiar with, but we also do something very special. We call it derived data. Because we're taking in all of the data and we're listening to every single tick of every stock on the exchanges, keeping statistical baselines of what's normal. Doing that allows us at any given time to show you the abnormal and unusual behavior in the market. And taking in the regular market data, we create this special data called derived data that's very unique to Trade Ideas. And some of the examples of that data are visible in this top list window. For instance, not only are we looking at change from the close from yesterday's close, but we're looking at the change over the last 60 minutes. Where is the stock in relationship to its 30-minute range? And that 30-minute range is its high and its low for that time period. But we can do this on all different time frames. And like I said, we're listening to every single tick of every stock, and we're keeping these baselines, but we're doing it on every time frame. So what's normal in 1 minute, what's normal in 5 for the day. Keeping all this information allows you to filter it and bring that to the top of your window. So let's bring in some other displays that we're looking at. I've got another window below that, which is the biggest losers today. It's just the inverse of the window that I'm looking at the top. And as I move over to the right, these two windows are actually being built off of these lists. So this biggest pullback is looking to stocks that are up the most for the day on a percentage basis, but it's allowing me to now sort using our derived data component to see stocks that are down the most over the last 30 minutes. So taking a real strong group of stocks and now sorting it to see the stocks that are down the most. Again, I can click on any one of these columns to get a sort order, both from ascending and descending mode. If I was to click again, I'll get the reverse. This icon right here, and if you hover over our icons, you get a tooltip. The position and range is giving me a graphical indication as to where that stock is in relationship to its intraday high and low. So we're not only giving all this market data information, we're providing some graphical analysis so that people don't have to pull it up on a chart. But if you want to do that, it's really just a click away. Let me show you how to link Trade Ideas to Lightspeed so that we can get the most out of the software as it's integrated. From the Tools menu option up at the top, I'm going to select External Linking. Linking with Lightspeed is facilitated by dragging the crosshairs on this external linking window right to the symbol field of the Level 2 window. So once you do that, and the alternate method being selected, you can then click on any symbol in a Trade Ideas window to update the chart and the Level 2 order entry panel, all the various components in Lightspeed to really be just one click away from a trade. Conversely, down at the bottom, we're looking at the stocks that have the biggest losers for the day, anything that's down at least 3%. Now I'm sorting it on stocks that are up the most for the last 30 minutes. So just giving you an inverse flare of what you can do with our top list windows. Let me also talk about this other window over on the left, which is our unusual stock twist volume. Trade Ideas not only looks at structured data, but it also looks at unstructured data. Structured data is the price data that comes out of the exchanges, but unstructured data is data that people are talking about out in Twitter. And we're specifically using stock twists, which has a very refined Twitter stream, so that people that are talking about stocks out in social media, we now have a real-time feed to be able to see what is being spoken about most. Again, you can sort this on any one of the columns that we have. And this one right here is the amount of stock twist percentage activity. So we know what's normal activity, when it's normal to be spoken about, and when that is exceeded, it comes into this window right here. So what I want to do now is I want to bring in a couple of other top lists that are in our cloud, and this is a good opportunity for me to show you the feature that we have, which is our cloud feature. And everybody has access to their own personal cloud. It's a great method to be able to share strategies among people or to just archive your own strategies. So the first one I want to bring up, and let's filter this just on top list windows so I can see the top list windows that I have saved. I want to bring in a volume radar. I'm also going to go ahead and post this in the chat so that if you guys want to grab this, you can. So let's select volume radar. Let's load it. And now I have a top list that's really looking at volume on all different time frames. The major sort criteria that we're looking for in this particular window is percentage volume today. But I've got a variety of other data components here looking at different time frames. Let me talk about one of the other derived data points, which is our relative volume. That over here, it mimics the volume today percentage. And this just, again, gives you a really nice indication of volume as it's moving throughout the day. This right here is looking at a snapshot at this point in time. But if I wanted to, and I wanted to go back and look at a particular point during the day, I can go ahead and do that just by selecting a time frame. So if I wanted to look at, say, 10 a.m., I can do that. And now this is giving me a snapshot at the 10 a.m. hour. I'm on Pacific time. So this is giving me the volume criteria at that point in time. So let me go ahead and share this with everybody. I'm going to copy that link, and I'm just going to paste it right into the chat room. What you need to do is you just, in order to import this into your own system, you grab that link, and you just paste it right here at the bottom, and then you hit load. That will load that for you. And then if you want to save it to your own cloud, you can just right-click on the window and select Save to Cloud. So this is probably a good point to notate the right-click menu. Everything inside of Trade Ideas is facilitated with a right-click context-sensitive menu. When you right-click, you can bring up your configuration window, which allows you to really refine what you want to look at inside of this window. But more than that, we also provide a variety of pre-configured strategies so that you can just peruse the list that we have here and just expand the folders for what you're looking for. We want to pull up the daily wide range bar, just select it, load the settings, and you can hit OK. You can also modify any of these pre-configured strategies. So you can go right into the Filters tab, change some of the filtered components in here, price, volume, any of the other types of criteria that we have. Okay, I want to bring in one more window just to show you the multivariate assisted sort. And this right here is what I have called turnaround candidates. And what we're doing is we're sorting on the server. We're going to the server and we're bringing in a list of stocks that are down the most. This is the 100 stocks that are down the most since January 1st, along with the filtered criteria that I have. So if you look at the different filtered settings that I have in this window, just a few. We're looking for stocks that have earnings per share of at least a penny. The previous day's range, it needs to be in the upper 75% of the previous day's range. Change from the close $1 or 1%. And then we're sorting on change since January 1st, biggest on top. So as we do that, now we can manipulate this data and get a flair for what's going on. See stocks that are up the most for the day, stocks that are down the most for the day. It's a pretty big list of symbols here. And then we have all these other variety of points. We're not only looking at the market data information, we also have some fundamental data points at your disposal, whether it's short growth percentage, quarterly revenue growth, annual earnings per share growth, quarterly earnings per share growth. So really combining a lot of different data points into the system. Let me go ahead and share this one with everybody too. So when you're sharing strategies, a couple different ways to do it. I've shown you how you can do it with the cloud link. The cloud link is really nice because it's archived and you can keep that inside of your own history. But we also have another method of sharing strategies, and this is sharing with your trading community, sharing in an email, sharing with our support team. If you need help building a strategy, this is a fantastic way to share it. If you right-click and select Collaborate, this string right at the top here, you can just select Copy All and then paste it in a reply email. This string contains all of the settings for that strategy. So whether it's an alert window, a multi-strategy window, or a top list window, this Collaborate feature really does allow you to, to share these settings with other people. All right, so let's dive into the alert window. The alert window was really the very first type of window component that Trade Ideas had. And we've been in business for about 13 years, so this was our flagship product when we first came out. So let's just go ahead and open up a new alert window. Now the difference between an alert window, and I'll just hit OK here, and then we'll show you how to configure it. But the difference between an alert window and a top list window, the difference is that in an alert window, there's going to be an event that triggers to drive that symbol to the top of your window. So when a new event occurs, whatever that new event is, I mean, it could be a new high, a new low, it could be crossing a moving average, anything, that will then come to the window, and the newest alert will always appear on top. So that's the standard alert window. What I want to do is I want to show you, something different that we do here at Trade Ideas. And I was talking a little bit earlier about social media. Let's go ahead and configure this. Again, we're going to bring up the right-click menu, go to Configure, and I'm going to start from scratch. So it's the first option up at the top. I'm going to double-click it or click it and hit Load Settings. Now what we're going to do is you got to get really comfortable with the search feature if you want to configure your own strategies. I'm going to type in social here, and that's going to bring up our social alerts and filters. And we have one alert. It's a StockTwits activity spike. I'm going to go ahead and add it. I'm going to select it. Everything is just really easy to configure. And now I'm going to put in a ratio of 3. So if a stock is being spoken about at least 3 times normal activity, it's going to go ahead and send that signal to my window here. Once you put your alert in, you can then define some filter criteria. Basic filtering, always recommend putting a price and volume depending upon your account equity and what you trade. So let's just put prices between $2 and $100, average daily volume of 100,000 shares, and let's just keep it that basic to start. So we'll call it unusual social mentions. So this is even going to continue to work after the regular market session. This even continues after market data stops. So what we're doing now is we're just looking at stocks that are being spoken about a lot. But this also gives me an opportunity to show you how not only can we look at a real-time display of this data, we can also go back and get a historical view. So had I been watching this an hour or two ago, I can see exactly which symbols would have triggered. And this is really beneficial when you're crafting your strategy and creating your strategy, not having to wait for a new event to occur to see if you've made a good strategy per se. You can now go back in history. And I'm going to go ahead and hover over history. I'm going to select a time frame. By default, if I just hit OK right now, this is just today. And I'm going to hit OK. And it's going to go back and bring in the last 1,000 events. And those 1,000 events could have taken place over multiple days. I specifically said just today. So this is the list of stocks. And I can just scroll down and look at different times during the day when this happened. So let me add a little flair to this. Now we're looking at unusual social mentions with both positive and negative sentiment. So this is stocks that are up for the day, down for the day, and such. I want to put a little flair on it. So let's go ahead and configure this, and let's call this unusual social mentions on positive sentiment. And we're going to define that positive sentiment in this case by the change from the open. So the change from the open in percent, I am going to add this filter, and I'm going to say the stock needs to be up at least 0.5% for this to have some positive sentiment from the open. Okay, so now I've got my window on positive sentiment. Let me also do this. Let me add in a column here. Let's not only add, let's do change from the open on percent. Let's show that column. And let's also go change from the close. All right, so I've added a couple more columns to my display. And now as I run that history, provides a little bit more flavor to it. So you can see these stocks are all up. Looking at the change from the open, convert, they're also up from the close. Now I'm going to go ahead and right-click, select duplicate. So now I have a carbon copy of that window. Right-click, configure. I'm going to take and I'm going to do the inverse, but I'm going to do it in a super simple way. I'm just going to hit flip. I'm not going to go back into the filters and adjust those. I'm just going to hit flip, and I'm going to rename it to negative sentiment. All right, so now if I run that history for just today, you're going to see that all of these stocks that came through this window were all down from the open, not down from the close. This one looks like it had a lot of activity today. So this one, gapped up strong, up from yesterday's close, but down the entire day. And so just a good way to move data around. So that is the unusual social mentions. There is one thing I want to show you guys because it's a little bit interesting and unique. I can't really do this after hours because data is kind of slowed down, but I put like a little 20-second video together. I want to show you this, this view mode option that we have. So in view mode, if you get symbols that repeat themselves, you can go ahead and turn that off. And it doesn't work for history mode, but in real-time mode, you could have it so it doesn't repeat every 5 minutes or every hour or such. But we also have a group and sort by. And you can get really sophisticated with the type of display that you do with that. So let me just finish off the alert windows with this right here. And this is just a video I just made this morning here using the group and sort by. And so this is just really a new high window that's going on. It doesn't have any filters, so it's moving kind of fast. But I'm going to right-click in here at some point and select the view mode, and we're going to do group and sort by. And I'm showing you here how you can do it with the menu by right-click. But you can also just double-click on one of the column headings up at the top. And I think I click on the change from the close here. So when you do that, you have an opportunity to keep the newest or keep the oldest. Now we're doing it in ascending order. So we've got the lowest value up at the top. So these are stocks that are down the most for the day that are making new highs. And when it updates, it'll turn black. And then you could conversely, you could sort it again by clicking on it. Click on it. And it'll go ahead and give you the inverse. So now I'm looking at stocks that are up the most for the day, and this TPX just made a new high at this time. A lot of different things that you can do with this particular view mode. And this is just one small example, but you can get pretty sophisticated with it. All right, so let me, I want to show you how to configure another window. Put some meat on the bone here because this is kind of cool. So we're going to open up a new alert window, and like I said earlier, we keep all these statistical baselines on different time frames, and one of the things the software is really good at finding are unusual movements. And in this case, let's make a climactic up move, and we'll do it from scratch so you can see how it's done. So the first thing in making one of these types of strategies, you have to figure, okay, what's that trigger event going to be, and what's going to send that symbol to my window? You can use a lot of different things. So in this case, let's do a new high. So we'll add that right there. Let's add the alert, and let's select it. I'm going to hide unused to kind of clear the clutter out. I think another one that I want to use is going to be a 5-minute high. So we'll add that as well. And I think that's good for the trigger events. And now we need to add the filters, and the filters are really going to paint that picture as to what's happening to this stock here. So let's go into our search, and a couple of things. So we're doing this on a 5-minute candle, so let's say over 15 minutes that stock needs to move a certain amount. So 15-minute change, and let's do it in percentage. And let's say that over the last 15 minutes that stock needs to have moved at least 1.25%. So that's good. Let's also hide unused here so we only have the basic criteria. Another filter that we want to do in a climactic move, it's a stock usually gets above that 20-period moving average. So let's go ahead and put a filter in there for the 20-period moving average. Find it with my fat fingers here. So we want to do this on a 5-minute chart, 20 period on a 5-minute chart. We're going to add that filter. In this case, let's say that stock needs to be at least 1% above that 20 period moving average on a 5-minute chart. One other thing we could do, we have a consecutive candles filter. So let's add that. Let's say we have to have at least 2 consecutive up 5-minute candles. So I mean, that's all we really need to really paint the picture of what we're looking for here. So let's just call this a climactic up move. We'll run a history and we'll pull some stuff up on a chart and see if it actually worked here. So let's time frame, hit OK. So this is going to give us the history for today. And I'm just going to go back, click on a symbol. So all of these are going to be exhibiting this behavior where we've got at least 2 up 5-minute candles in a row. We're either making a new high or making a 5-minute high. It's above the 20-period moving average by at least 1%, and it's moved 1.25% over the last 15 minutes up. So that's how you would configure a climactic move, an up move, and then, like I showed you earlier, if you just duplicate it, configure, flip, we just made a climactic down move. So here, that's the alert window, and I want to, it kind of is a good segue into the multi-strategy window since I made a couple of these windows right here. You can make your own multi-strategy window just by loading up a new multi-strategy window. And I'm going to just put these 2 strategies in this window, show you how easy it is. Right-click, collaborate, copy all. Right-click, strategies. We're going to put a new strategy, collaborate, and we're pasting it. So now we've added that one strategy.
Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
I just have a quick question that's one of the viewers has. How can you use an EMA instead of SMA?
Right now, Trade Ideas just monitors SMAs. It doesn't monitor EMAs. It's a request we've had, and it's something that may go into the software in the next few months.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So on the multi-strategy window, I've got one strategy in there. I want to right-click now. I'm going to collaborate this strategy, copy all, right-click, strategy, and paste. So now I've got a multi-strategy window that has both of these strategies in it. You can then further refine the colors, the columns, and all of that display. I've got one made. I will in a multi-strategy, so let me load that. And I'll also share this with the group. And I'll put it in the chat. So I don't know if if those chat messages are actually getting out to the group. So Sean, maybe if it's not, maybe you can send it out to everybody.
Yes, anything you're sending, I'm sending out to the group.
Perfect, thank you. So real quick, we can do a history on this, and then I'll move on to the next component here. Time frame, let's just select today, and it'll go back. And in this particular multi-strategy that I shared, it's got, well, let's see how many different strategies it has. It's got over 10 strategies in it, and I have 6 of them turned on. You can turn strategies off and on just by selecting them or deselecting them to the right, or to the left, rather. So that's how you can turn them off and on. And that's our climactic move window. Another thing, another freebie I want to give to everybody is our derived data stream window. Now, in the default layout, it came with the biggest gainers and losers event watcher. I've kind of modified it a little bit, but I think that we put a better window together. It has some more interesting events, and I'd like to give that to everybody as well. So let's load that from the cloud. There you go. And so what I recommend when you grab something like this and you bring it and load it from the cloud, just right-click on the window and then do Save to Cloud. This way it'll save it to your own cloud. And you can save a layout, or you can save multiple windows, or just a single window. By default, when you select that Save to Cloud on a single window, it's automatically selected right there, and then you can just save it. So the drive data stream, this is really taking the multi-strategy window that you have and kind of put it on steroids, if you will. And I've added some strategies, I've modified some strategies, but we're looking at some really cool events, climactic moves, volatility, stocks that are having wide range bars, earnings plays. So a lot of great stuff is included in this particular multi-strategy window here. So from the multi-strategy window, you can also do a couple different things. So when you look at your different strategies, you can break it right out into an alert window. So if I want to take that one strategy and pull it out, you can just do that. And now I've got that one strategy in an alert window. And one reason why you may want to have it in an alert window is because it's just a lot easier to manipulate. You can run your history easier and just really look specifically at that stock. You can, or at that particular strategy. You can also drill into it and go right into a symbol list and look at a particular symbol. So if you want to drill into a particular symbol and see when that would have triggered on a strategy, you can do it in this particular manner just by selecting a single symbol and typing it in. So I have another window here. Let me pull up our compare account. And this is less than exciting after hours, but it's really one of our visualization tools that allows you to enter in two different strategies, dueling strategies, if you will. And it could be one strategy could be a new high strategy, the other one could be a new low strategy. And you can look at the entire universe of stocks or just a portfolio or symbol list. And it's going to give you that real-time visualization as to how these two strategies are working against each other, which strategy has more events coming through it. And in this case, it's after hours, it's a little bit slow, and it looks like we have a few more bullish alerts than bearish alerts, but it's so negligible that it doesn't even matter. But when the market's really kicking, this becomes a really nice visual aid, to see what's going on in the market. And if you want, it'll keep a cumulative total since you started, but if you want to reset it at any time to see what's happening from this point, I like just duplicating it because you'll keep your historical archive in this one, and then you can look at what's absolutely fresh and happening right now in this particular window. All right, let's also talk a little bit about the odds maker. The odds maker is it's just really unique tool because it allows you to craft a strategy and then hypothesize if you would be making money in that strategy. So, well, let me just show you here because I can talk about it all I want, but let me just go to the Strategies tab in our Brokerage Plus interface, and I have two different strategies in here. I'm going to use the same technique. I'm going to pop them out of here. So in this case, we're looking for a long crossing resistance strategy, and before I run it, take a quick snapshot look. I've got a lot of different filters in here. I'm looking for a crossing above a resistance trigger, and when we do that, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to run this backtesting tool. The very first screen allows me to enter in some data. The first part, when can I initiate this trade? I've got it set up to be able to trade from the market open to the market close. Now, that's not actually true for the strategy. In this strategy, I have a time filter in it. So I'm saying, I believe this strategy, I'm not trading for the first 20 minutes. But that's the only other criteria. So we're holding it for 60 minutes. That's the hypothesis here. We're going to put in a 50-cent stop loss. So if the trade goes against me 50 cents, I'm going to exit it and take my loss. And we're going to go long. So let's run this thing, and it's going to look at the last 30 days of activity. Anytime that event would have triggered, it's hypothesizing me buying it. And then I can, once this thing is run, I can put in some other criteria. So let's take a look here. All right, so this is, first of all, it's giving me a visual representation of my equity curve. I've said in here that I'm starting out with $50,000 in my account. Each trade that I make is going to be a $10,000 transaction. So that could be, 50 shares. It could be 5,000 shares. All depends on the price of the stock. My commission, I set that in there at $2, and then slippage. Obviously, I'm not going to get every price that I want. This stock here triggered at 8:23 this morning at 51.23. this slippage of 3 cents says, I'm saying that I may not get into this until 51.26. So I've got 3 cents of slippage there, and you can look at my equity curve starting at 50 and moving up, keeping into account not only the commission, and that'll move in real time, as you change this, but also the slippage. So you can lay out different scenarios. The profit factor up in the upper left is really telling you the sum total of all your winners over all your losers. This strategy had 190 trades over this time period. 61% were winners. This gives me my winner to loser ratio, roughly twice the winner to loser value, and the return. And this tells me what buying power is required. And I do have a little bit of other data points from a visual perspective. I can see the profit per day, trades. And I'm going to fly through this just because there's a lot to know about this particular tool. And we're going to spend the next webinar, which is 2 weeks from today, talking more specifically about not only the odds maker, but the Brokerage Plus automated trading interface. So we have a calendar heat map. The calendar heat map gives you a visual representation of each trading day, and you can drill into any particular day and see what trade or trades you would have made, share quantity, and everything is all indicative in here, the entry price, exit price, and what you would have made or lost in that strategy on that day. So we give a larger heat map here, calendar heat map. And one of the best features in this thing is the optimization tool, where you can not only optimize your strategy from a price perspective, you can do it from entry and exit. If I do this, I'm looking at, let me make it 15-minute intervals here throughout the day, and you can see exactly how successful was I during that first 15 minutes, during that second 15 minutes that I traded. And it's really giving you that nice indication, not only from a profit factor, but a win percentage, your average gain or loss, and all those data points are there. And then you can get to this last tab, the other filters. And depending upon which columns you have visible in your strategy when you run it, or, and I'll show you real quick, if you were to go to advanced and set up the columns to use, you can do that right here, where I've got it set up to basically look at every single column that we have available to us, which gives me the ability to optimize all of those different filters. So as I come back here, and again, this strategy has already been optimized in my opinion, so there's not a whole lot I would do to it, but I can quickly look and say in this 1 minute RSI, anything that was below 51 here, 33% success rate, I didn't make money, may want to change the value of my 1 minute RSI filter based on that. But like I said, I've got all the different filters, and you can cycle through them and get your really refined analysis as to how does that filter affect the overall profitability of that strategy. So that is the odds maker. And then lastly, we'll end in this window in the upper right-hand corner, which is our Brokerage Plus interface. And probably should show you very quickly how to make sure that this is connected to Lightspeed. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that the gray box window is connected. And so everybody that wants to use the Brokerage Plus interface will need to open up a gray box window. And there's a little file that we created and installed in a folder when you install Trade Ideas. Let me show you where you find that. So I'm going to go to Configure. I'm going to hit these double dots right here. And let's just go to my computer. I'm going to go to C drive, Program Files, x86. Going down to Trade Ideas. Trade Ideas for Lightspeed, and the Lightspeed bridge. So this is where we keep the DLL file, and you'll want to select that. And once you do, check this right here where it says Start Automatically with Lightspeed. Then you won't have to go through that process again. And then you want to start it. Once it's started, really, really simple. All you do is come over to this Brokerage Plus window, and you get to it from the Tools menu. Trade Ideas Brokerage Plus. It'll say disconnected at first, and you just click on this Lightspeed option, and this is a red circuit will turn green, letting you know that you're connected. And essentially, this interface will now mimic your portfolio in your Lightspeed platform. So we have a couple different windows that you can open, or tabs, and so we can either open up tabs or windows. In this case, I have tabs open. I've got a position tab. This one here is filtered on just my open positions. This one's filtered on closed positions. My strategies tab, these are the strategies that I can choose to automate if I wanted to. Executions, messages, orders, I can bring all those different windows in and use them really in conjunction with the tools that you have with Lightspeed. The two are really meant to work hand in hand together and provide you really the best trading experience that you can have. So I think I've run through all the different topics and points that I wanted to cover. Maybe this is a good time to open it up for some questions, and maybe if I missed on some things, Dan, you can let me know.
Thanks, Dan and Brad, for a great webinar. Does anyone have any questions? All right, we have a few questions. Do you know if you can get an alert for a stock with a price spike of 25 cents in 1 minute, for example?
Yeah. Let me show you how you do that. And it's a special alert that we have. Let me bring up a new alert window. Starting from scratch, and it's an alert that we have. It's called Running Up Now. And the Running Up Now is looking over the course of 1 minute for a nice spike up move. Now, if we add that alert, I can come over here, I can specify, you select the alert, and you want it to be 25 cents, so you would put 25 cents right there. So that's one way to do it. Another thing you could do is you could not put that alert-specific value in there, and you could say, add a filter in here for change for 1 minute. And if you want it to be 25 cents, you can add the filter. And you put a minimum move of 25 cents. So you combine that running up alert with this 0.25 cent requirement for the change over 1 minute. A couple different ways to do it.
Great, thank you. Next question is, are there any performance or compatibility issues if you're using a Mac on Parallels?
Well, I mean, I have Mac and I use Parallels, so it works okay. But to be quite honest, I mean, there's always a little bit of performance degradation anytime you use a virtual machine. That said, Trade Ideas is super lightweight. I mean, everything is really done and crunched on the server, so it's really just a super lightweight client. I would venture to say that a charting application running through the virtual machine is going to take up far more resources than Trade Ideas. But keep in mind that we're not putting any limitations on the number of windows that you can have. So if you had a lot of top list windows and you decided that you didn't want to just look at, say, the top 100 events, and you can specify that here in the historical data. Let's say you wanted to look at the top 300 events. You can do that. So just be mindful that that's now 3 times the amount of bandwidth and data that's going to be coming into a single window. So those are some of the criteria that can affect that.
Can linking with Lightspeed be saved, or is it necessary to perform it on every time you start Trade Ideas?
Well, it's something that you need to do every time you either start Trade Ideas or Lightspeed, but it's super easy. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and take this external linking off, right, so that it's not even on right now. You don't even need to go to that menu item. When you first load the application, if you were to just click on a symbol, it'll bring up those crosshairs, you drag it, and it's linked, and that's it. And so that's all there is to it. So that's a one-time symbol linking that you need to do for each session.
Okay. Do you have an alert that can be set as a relative distance from a moving average? Example is ATR multiple from the MA or standard deviation from the MA?
Well, you can't. Out of the box, you cannot. But we do have something called custom filters. And through the use of a custom filter, you could absolutely make a standard deviation component or some component of its volatility as a value that needs to be above that simple moving average. So there are ways to do it. It's a little bit more complex. For the Lightspeed group, it's something that one of the Trade Ideas support staff would need to do for you as far as putting that custom formula into your account. But it's certainly something that we can do.
All right, I think that's all the questions. I just want to remind everyone again that Trade Ideas will be hosting another webinar going more deeper into the issues of automated trading strategies and the Brokerage Plus tool. That would be on March 26th in 2 weeks. I want to thank Brad and Dan again for all their help in a great webinar. And again, this will be recorded and put on our website, so if you have any questions or want to reference it again in the future, it will be in our recorded webinar section. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woo!